Hey, how's it going, universe? Welcome to another episode of Zoobox Goes to the Movies. This week, I'm again joined by Big Paul. What's going on, buddy? Cheers. We're going to be talking about the recently released 2021 feature, The White Tiger, directed by Ramin Bahrani. He adapted this for screen from a book of the same name by Aravind Adiga. It stars Adarsh Gurav, Rakmo Rao, Priyanka Chopra, Vident Sina, and other names that I'm not pronouncing right. The plot synopsis logline here is an ambitious Indian driver uses his wit and cunning to escape from poverty and rise to the top. An epic journey based on the New York Times bestseller. So, here we are to talk about lifestyles that we know nothing about.
Well, like as a tourist, I occasionally I got to see some of that.
Actually, yeah. Why don't you talk about it? So Paul has actually does have a little bit of experience, and this was his choice, so he can explain himself.
Thank you. Well, yeah, that's a bit of being a regular, right? So I don't have to
Yeah.
put a comment in the YouTubes to do the next one. I can just text you. But, hey, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But yeah, no. I want to check this out. So I lived in Oman for about 7 months, and huge Indian expat community out there. It does a lot of the labor and service industry work out there. And where I lived out there, there's laborers out there primarily from Sri Lanka and India. They go out there in these like hideous blue or green suits. Like you knew they were city workers if they're in the blue suits. They're doing landscaping if they're in the green suits. They go out there like 12 to 15-hour days, and then they would all go live in the parking garage in the apartment where I lived. And then what they did all night to make extra money was to offer to wash your car and whatnot. So and we'll get to it later on, but like throughout the movie, the scene where he lived in that parking garage, that was kind of like eerily familiar with me because every time I'd go in, I'd go
Yeah.
come up, wash your car, sir, blah blah, and go and well, you know me for a long time. I can't just not talk, look around, see what's
Yeah.
happening, and like observe and stuff, and just see like this whole like underworld labor world like living right beneath me, like that have been working all day out and like the Omani heat, and then trying to like wash all these cars for people living in this complex,
Yeah.
you're really included. So I just remember that was just like one of the big takeaways, just like whew, it's just just a rough life. You got people out there. So, but yeah, no. But I overall though, like, you want to get into like initial reactions or?
Yeah, let's do that. Actually, just so everybody knows, like this is a newer movie. Often we do older movies, so I don't feel the need to like be explicit about this, but we're gonna spoil the fuck out of this movie. We're gonna talk about everything. We're gonna go all over the place as per usual. And
Yeah.
so if you haven't seen it yet, it is currently on Netflix. It just came out a couple weeks ago. So you can go check it out there. And then you come back. Because of course you're gonna come back. It's Zoobox, baby. You're gonna come back all the time. 271 subs strong. We lost a sub the other day. I'm gonna blame my brother Daniel for his violent rhetoric.
He's also a hologram. So,
What is rape, though, right, guys? But before we talk about the movie, what you drinking, buddy?
man, I am going steady with Teeling.
Ooh, some Teeling.
Yeah.
I treated myself. I had this one time before. I think it's when we did the Fight Club episode, and we talked for almost 3 hours, and I could barely talk by the end of it. I was slurring my words because it's 50% alcohol by volume. The 1776 rye.
I always forget to look that one up.
Yeah, James E. Pepper. It is very solid. It's dangerously smooth.
Oh.
Because usually, like, we've had some ryes. We had Whistle Pig.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit higher. It's like 48%. But you could feel the bite a little bit. It slows you down kind of naturally. The spices and stuff slows you down. This is like fucking butter. And it's 50%. So that's why I got so trashed. That's how we talked about Fight Club. So I gotta pace myself. I brought a bottle of water, responsible adult.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, that's what we're drinking tonight. So if you guys are listening to this at nighttime, or if you're a fucking, you're one of those types during the daytime, grab yourself a drink and settle in as we talk about the life and times of Indians in the, I guess, circa 2008.
Yep.
So you didn't read the book. You didn't. Did you just find out about this because of Netflix? Was it on Netflix and you saw a preview, or what's the deal?
No, absolutely. So I didn't read the book, but I was just scrolling through Netflix and whatnot, and I just saw the trailer for it. Cause if you stay on a frame
Yeah.
long enough, the trailer starts playing, and I saw that. I was just immediately intrigued by the trailer, and I'm like, why not? Let's give it a go. And then yeah, I just fired off, and the rest, texted you up, and I've watched it a couple times since I've told you.
Yeah,
Uh,
I watched it twice myself. I actually listened to the audiobook over the week because we had some extra time. We were supposed to do this last week, but we just couldn't. So I had extra time, so I decided to listen to the audiobook. If you guys don't know there's an app or a service called Hoopla or Canopy. If you have a library card, it's basically a virtual library, and they have the audiobook on there. I was like, sweet, don't have to
nice.
buy it, don't have to find it other ways. So I was able to very easily listen to it, put that thing on 2 times speed. We were done in 4 hours, baby. It was glorious. It's actually a short book too. That helped. Um, but yeah, so I watched it twice. Um, do you want to tell me what your initial reaction was first, or do you want me to go first?
No, I'll go, man.
Yeah, go.
I think it was visually pleasing. Yeah, if you like watch anything long enough, you'll find things to pick apart. I think in the case with this one, it'd probably be pacing mainly, but I think I was really captivated by the main character, and and just kind of like the story in general. So even the second go at it, I still enjoyed it, but
Yeah.
I do think it is kind of like there's something about like the pacing and overall, and I don't know if it was just like the way they did the narration of the film, but you felt like a little scattered. At least I did
Hmm.
for this, but overall though, I thought it was a lot of fun to watch. I thought it was like filmed very nicely, and just the performances, especially with the main actor. That I'm not even going to
Yeah, his
props to you for giving it a go at the name. So I'm not going to
his
bother.
name. This is his first movie, I think. He's
Oh,
more of a musician, from what I understand, in India.
oh,
His name is Adarsh Grav. The character's name is Balram, and he is great. If there is a reason to watch this movie, it's probably for his performance.
mm-hmm.
He carries the entire movie on his shoulders. I do think that like there is some problems I have with the movie, and it became more clear actually once I listened to the book. Like this is a very straightforward adaptation of the book because the book is the same thing. It's like a narrator. It starts the same way. It ends the same way. Like every scene is almost word for word verbatim from the book. It's very very faithful to the book. The only thing they just took out just wholesale just kind of took out a few kind of character moments. They took out a couple scenes because you actually in the book he's probably a worse person in the book. He's more amoral in the book than he is on screen. They softened him up a little bit, as they did kind of with everybody, because it's
Yeah.
a movie. I think they wanted you to like these characters. Like that's supposed to be like the subversive thing. Oh, I kind of like these guys, even though I don't like them. Like I don't like
Mm-hmm.
everything they do. I'll subscribe to everything they do, but they're so nice. They're so enigmatic.
Mm-hmm.
So they soften him up because like there's literally a line in the book from Balram where he's just like the reason why like because this is a big theme in the book, which is something we'll probably get into, is that this like China and India kind of joining as a new economic superpower, and now they no longer need the influence of the West. The West has come and kind of destroyed the culture of India and has changed it from a more I guess socialist regime to a more entrepreneurial capitalistic regime. And that's a theme it's in the movie. They don't get into it very much. They kind of just say, and surprisingly enough, I was like, okay, well, they talk about it a little bit in the movie. They bring it up, but it's in the subtext. It's how the story ends as well. Like they bookend it with those kind of thoughts, but they don't really delve into it in any serious way. Neither does the surprisingly enough. The book is just as like surface level as the movie is, which I was really kind of shocked about, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, but that was one thing too. Is like what you're talking about, how they try to. It was a bit contrived popping in the capitalist themes and like Western culture's influence, right? Because when Bahram is talking, I think he's like, America. So yesterday, it's no longer the white man's world; it's the yellow and brown man's world,
Yeah.
which pretty kind of like out of touch with his character, because his whole life was growing up, in the heartland of India, then outward. So the only like wrongdoing he's ever experienced from himself is his own people.
Yeah.
And then
how would he have this perception, right? Like
exactly.
Yeah, well, which is like a little bit of author insert. The author, Adiga, is a upper middle class Indian man who went to Oxford, very fine schools, worked for Time magazine for a while, kind of successful, very young, and oh my god, I read an interview and there's some choice quotes in there, but well, before I get to that though, the point I was trying to make before though was that in the book they directly point to the idea that like cell phone usage and homosexuality being accepted in the West is what is weakening it. And that's why it's time for India and China to take hold with a strong hand, because Western men are weak now. That's like part of that's part of his reasoning. They totally cut that out of the movie. That's not in the movie. But the rest of it is though. The rest of it is they just cut that part out. So that was just an example of how they kind of soften the edges a little bit. But yeah, like this is something I had more of a problem with the movie after I listened to the book and I read some interviews from the author. He doesn't really know. He's not a very thoughtful person. This was just like an angry projection. So this is one of these things. It's like, well, what am I supposed to take away from this movie? Like, what is the ultimate message of the movie? Like, is it that is it this vicious cycle of this idea that you're doomed? Like, if you want to make it in the world, you got to fuck people over. You got to step on people. You got to sacrifice your family. You got to sacrifice the old world, old values, because that's a big part of the movie, right? Like, that's a big part of the story is him kind of rejecting formal India in terms of like his fealty to his family.
How the film starts off is like, excuse me, it's typical Indian fashion. It's accustomed to start off by worshiping a god. You kind of make a light, mark up, getting right into it, right? So like, but what you bring on to is like, what are the main takeaways from that, and just kind of like generally like what are the main themes like of this movie, right? So we talked a little bit about the capitalist influence, whatnot, but just the whole kill your master. This perpetual reoccurrence of servitude. There's a lot about classism in India's unique case, because they had a caste system that officially ended in the late 40s, but as you see, even in the movie takes place in like 2007. He's being interviewed. Granted, it's a movie based off a book, but you got to imagine there's some reality to it, where he's like, what's your caste? They ask, like, it's still very much relevant. Just kind of like,
for sure,
like Jim Crow, ended 60 years ago.
Exactly,
but then, you know what I mean? We can kind of relate to
it's still a society that structures itself based on that idea, even if it's not like legal imperative anymore. It's still very much there, and everybody acts in kind. Like, there's stuff in the book about like, well, why, like the reason why like there's so little crime in parts of India and stuff, and why they don't really worry about their servants and stuff is because they're so kind of brainwashed into thinking of their caste, of their place, that they would never dare. They don't even worry about that kind of stuff. That's why they let them walk around. That's why they can hang out in their houses, be with their children.
Yeah, they're not gonna do anything about it. Or just like that one pivotal part in the movie, where Pinky, Bahram's master's wife, whatever, runs over a kid, and they don't even report the death of their own child.
Oh, there's an interesting aspect to the movie, and I guess it could be in the book, and credit to the author Adiga there, is that there is a subtle kind of critique, I would suppose, of kind of a woke progressive people that insist that they're progressive and that they're doing the right thing and they're educated and they lived in America, and then you see actually the reality, because they kind of put on this face of being like, oh, we got to be nice to Balram. why would you do that to him? But still also treating him like human garbage. They don't actually care about him. It's all a facade. You know, when you first meet like a Shoko and Pinky, they bring him into their bedroom to kind of, I don't even remember, I can't remember exactly what they're talking about, but their main concern is like, don't you think people need internet and cell phones? And, you know, they're asking me about like, have you ever used the internet? Do you know what the internet is? Which is a very kind of progressive modern perspective. Like, if only these people had access to kind of culture and a wider perspective, their whole world would change. Which is that's a very modern, that's a very Western concept. You know, that's what we think all the time now. Like, well, if we expose kids to these ideas, you know, when they're kids, you know, they have access to this broader perspective of the world, then that'll do the work for us.
Yeah, which was kind of like in a way robbed from Bahram in the beginning, right? Because he was the only one of his family that got to go to school, and he got sought out by the school inspector, whatever his title was, and you know, he had the titular line. He was like, "You're the white tiger," because it was out of the class. Bahram was the only one that knew how to read. He knew what the great socialist, like politician of the region. Like her sentiment towards like, you know, what could happen with the empowerment of education. He was selected to, you know, go do this. So he had this, you know, right there at the beginning of the kid, like, you're exposed to new ideas. We're going to get you far away from here. You're going to go to our great, you know, New Delhi school and all this stuff. And then, you know, evil grandma, like, you know, pulled back to go work in the tea shop and Ben Cole, like, and all that shit. So just like and I think that's what makes Barnum's character so interesting, and like in contrasting like with that, because I'm glad you used the term like like this wokeism, because I made a note about that in terms of like just how like full of shit people are.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we should care about these people, but at the same time, I'm going to like you emasculate and humiliate you because in front of my friend because while like scratching yourself and blah blah. But like,
it's the same thing we do all the time. Everybody does this, right? Like, we're like, oh, like, you know, of course I want to support like good causes and I don't want human suffering or human rights violated in other countries so I can get a computer cheaper. But at the end of the day, you're like, well, I support those things as long as it doesn't disrupt my life. Like, if it doesn't disrupt my day to day.
So any major city, right? I was in DC a couple weeks ago, right? And then, you know, a lot of things have been popping in DC. And you got all these people, you know, these different hashtag campaigns, you know, support this people, blah blah. You know, the big thing right now, right? Like minimum wage thing that's going on in the Senate. All this emptiness about we should do this, we should care about people, and then you know, DC, just like many major U.S. cities in this country, have a lot of homeless people, a lot of, you know, of color homeless people. You know, just walk around and people just walk by on there with their Starbucks, talking, and not even look at them and be annoyed if they come talk or like, God forbid, make eye contact, right? So, you know, and just talk about like what's going on, like in other like countries, and you know, do this stuff like that when you got people literally right here starving, like down the street from you, not in some foreign land, you know, across the pond, like right there in your backyard, right? So that was just.
Well, it's because like it's an abstraction, like it's an intellectual exercise. It's not real to you, so it's very easy just to say things. It's super easy to say things, right? Of course, I don't want this to happen to people. Of course, it's awful. Oh my God, homeless people in France. Oh my God, it's awful. What's going on over there? What are these concentration camps over there? And then, like you said, but somebody down the street from you is like fucking dying from exposure because they're a homeless guy that lives in DC and he's got to find a grate near a subway to sleep so doesn't freeze to death.
Yeah.
You know, and then you just step over that guy. Because that's reality. That's something you could tangibly affect.
Yeah, or not even just over, but just got annoyed at their audacity. Yeah.
Well, you don't have to accept responsibility for abstract ideas. That's why it's so easy to be hashtags, Twitter, social media. People don't feel the need to accept responsibility for the things that they say, right? Because it's like we still have this idea that it's ephemeral, that it's digital world. It's not real.
Right.
Yeah.
But back to like Pinky and Ashok, you know, telling Bahram, going to that whole sentiment you're talking about, if he knew about the internet and everything like that, like he got at an early age exposed to this, right? And then I thought like very colorful, you know, metaphor he was using. They kept saying rooster coop. Every time they made a reference to the rooster coop, I'm like, You mean chicken coop? You mean like, stop it.
Racist.
They say rooster coop in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
They do. They do.
Well, that's how you know the author's a snob that went to Oxford. Okay, he doesn't even fucking know. You know.
These people are backwards. Is what
Another one of your regulars. You know, Mr. Prophet. He would probably cringe at that too. That's why I wanted him to watch it. Hey, you hear that old bit? Called it a rooster coop, huh? Am I right? Am I right?
These people are crazy.
Yeah.
I wonder why they are where they are. Calling things rooster coops. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. Just going on there and just being still, I'm going to do this, and then just get that completely ripped away from him, and then taking what savvy he knew about that, because his brother, probably you led to believe like maybe a year or two older than he is, just completely not even half baked, like that shitty joke, a statement Shook made about Bahram later on, just inundated with his task. Like he's a living, breathing tool to just do whatever the tea shop needs and whatever the hell, like because we're led to believe that because we know Bahram's father died of tuberculosis at an early age, and his mom is not in the picture, so like this grandma is like the alpha figure that's running the whole household, and just kind of
that's what I was. Is it like more of a matriarchal society in these villages? That's kind of what the sense I got. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I know a little bit about the caste system and everything that happened in the 40s because I wrote a paper on Gandhi like a couple of years ago, so I was a little bit familiar with some of that stuff. But because and they make a point in the book too, they don't really get into it, but like when Balram's father finds out that he was pulled out of school to go break coal, he's mad. He's mad, but he doesn't do anything about it.
right.
It's like the grandmother is ultimately the one that gets the final say,
Right. But it's just kind of another like extension of the rooster coop, like in this case, like what's coming, what's happening, and now the new fate of your son that you didn't want, because that's why you made an effort to put at least one of your kids in the school, and you got him in, and now you're going to deal with the backlash of that. So like nope, like that's how England was able to take over the entire country, by the way.
Well, this is something that upper middle class Indians apparently are very, because most of them are Western educated. They talk a lot about colonization, and apparently this the Daily Beast interview, the one that I sent to you earlier. Apparently, he had referred to the interviewer as a colonizer more than one time. And we're talking about a guy that's the son of a doctor.
Yeah.
We're not talking about, you know what I mean? Like these people have, I mean, maybe rightly so, I suppose, everything being relative, I guess. If you look at the influence England had on the country, and then you got to weigh it about like whether or not like that was a positive force for India or not. I don't know. Like I couldn't say that. I'm not well educated enough on the topic to be able to make that kind of discernment. But I assume if white people were involved, it's probably fine.
Yeah.
That's a joke, everybody.
Well, hey. India is now the leader in cricket now. So I mean, thanks England. I don't know.
I mean, booyah.
That $1 billion sport. And that's another thing I didn't know what the fuck it was until I went to Oman. Quick side, going to
You know what cricket was?
I knew of it because my dad had a cricket board from college that was a go-to disciplinary tool. I didn't know about that, but I know it was like a thing, right? Until I was out there, I remember going by some like restaurant, everyone's gathered around the TV, and me, like, what the hell are they doing?
That's why Paul identified with this movie so much, because when he went to Oman, he was Balram.
I was Balram. I was using my wits. I was driving people around. My rental, trying to rip off my masters. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, no, just deep seated. Felt that he's in for like greatness, which nobody in that village got. And then I think that's why he was. It was just interesting to watch that. The whole white tiger concept, and him just kind of morph into that character. And like,
well, okay, he lets it. Yeah, he lets it go for a while, right? Though he lets it go because he is like, I want to serve. I want to be a good servant. I want to be a good driver. I want to be good, like because they're taught to think of their masters as like family. Like those are my father's, my cousin. Like that's the kind of reverence they have for them. It's really there's an inflection point, there's a pivot point in the story is when Pinky hits that kid after because she insists on drunk driving. She hits a kid in the street and they basically not convince, they voluntold Balram that he's got to sign a confession that he's the one that did it. And that's a turning point for him. Like his character turns a little bit, right there. He suddenly like doesn't feel like this love and loyalty to them anymore, which is way more, I would say, explicit and dark in the book. But in the movie, that's like that's the turning point for his character. That's like midway through the movie too, which is weird because it feels like a third act thing because it feels like the story is kind of building up to this moment, and it's really not.
Right. Huh. Yeah,
because that's when he
him was like talking to the guy who ran the garage area and finding out about his fate. He goes, "Oh, what happened?" He goes, "Well, good. If you're lucky, you get another like 10 years of this, and then most people end up in like a shelter or shanty off in some bit or something like that, and this guy that ran the whole garage, Bahram, just couldn't even like face him because of his discolorment in his face and everything." That was I feel another big driving point too to make, because that's really what expedited him to kind of network with other drivers and other people to find out the tricks of the trade. Here's how we overcharge invoices for your maintenance for your vehicle. You can get more gas to sell to other drivers. You can start driving other people other than your master and stuff like that, and start building up that side bank too.
Yeah, and I think those compounding factors when he's like kind of realizes the reality of his situation. Really, where does he actually stand? How do people really feel about him?
Right.
He's a fucking footstool. And it's not until that happens that really dawns on him, because he actually even makes mention. He's like, from that point on, I knew that I had to become the White Tiger. Kind of reminded him of his potential. And not to sell himself short, which basically, in a metaphorical sense, is letting go of the old ways of India, specifically. Like I said before, kind of when we started talking about this stuff, it's like he lets go of like fealty to family. He lets go of like kind of the loyalty that is implied in the unofficial caste system that exists with servants and masters, and he starts living for himself in a very like aggressive way. And like he just takes it far. He's just smart enough to take it further than the guy that runs, like the place where he sleeps is like the garage. That guy's just, a little. He's not smart enough to be an entrepreneur. He doesn't have that kind of spirit or that ability. But he knows how to scam, and he knows how to make extra money on the side. And that was one of the weird themes of the movie, I suppose, was that like any type of upward mobility, if you're a poor person in India, is to be a criminal. And they say like either you're a criminal or you're a politician.
Yeah.
If you want to move up the ladder, you're either a criminal or you're a politician. That's why they love the great socialist, because she was poor. Like, at least that's her legend, right?
Right.
Even though she's trying to extort like this other dirtbag family for millions of rupees or whatever the hell they're doing, right? She's trying to extort them for money. And so she's just as bad as they are, I suppose. I don't know if the movie's trying to say that or not. I don't know. That was just something.
I think the movie does have a very negative connotation towards Indian politics in general there.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, in the upper class, right? It's like it's a very cynical movie, I would say. It's very cynical about about what it means to be successful. At least specific, and I think some of it is specific to India. It's not a very broad thing. You couldn't apply these ethics other places and like understand it. So it could be a little bit ignorance on my part, because just as like I don't know, I guess as a viewer, like you tend to like you watch movies like this, you look at these characters, you look at the themes, and you kind of think about them, how they apply it to your own world, and you see like how mismatched that would be. So even I had to take a step back, like, okay, well, they're talking about India specifically, and this is how people are made to feel. The one thing that I would say that like because of Balram ends up literally taking Ashoka's name, which is funny because there's a line in the movie where he says, "Oh, you like that name? You take it." So he takes it at the end. He starts a white tiger taxi driver company. He's like Scarface at the end of the movie, but he's a benevolent Scarface. He's the benevolent, like, powerful man. Not like these other people. Not like what happened to him. He's a benevolent one. Like, he's, if they kill a kid, they go to the family and give them money. Like, which I was like, I felt like that's why I'm just very conflicted about how to feel about that character at the end of the movie, because for me, this kind of naivete about the positivity of that. It's just like, that is a trap. Anytime you see, like, people with great power do great evil things, and it's kind of like the argument that people have about communism nowadays. Everybody's like, well, they just didn't do it right. Like, I'm the one that knows how to do it right. That's why I believe in it.
Right.
So in a weird way, Balram's like, I'm the one that knows how to do this right. And I don't feel like, and this is a failing in the book as well, there's no exploration. There's not a lot of exploration of his life as the White Tiger.
Right.
Like,
no, they just kind of let you, like, lay out, like, these are the events that would happen. We gave you a bit of the context, and like, and now we leave you with, where it was at that time, and I think up to us right now to talk about it, or at least that's a fun thing to think about. The one thing you're talking about, with being unique, to India, not us, or not knowing how to feel about it, and that was one takeaway I had too. It's just like, what a great privilege it is to grow up and live in the West, right? Where in our heads when we were kids, growing up, in the late 80s, 90s, like, you work hard, you'll make it. You can do this. You can be whatever you want, right? And then here it's just like, you work hard enough, good, keep working, because grandma needs money and you're going to die. You keep working hard. Like, there's nowhere to go, right? And I think with Baum, because how you're supposed to feel with that, right? And so, like, you kind of look at, like, some of the redeeming things. He did a lot of cutthroat things to get there, right? So we'll keep the grandma stuff out of it from the side, but he got money from her, even though it wasn't like an act of kindness from his grandma to invest in him to go to driving school. But he becomes a driver, and then he gets there, and then first thing he does in his new chicken coop is to be the main head, the main mother hen there. And so finds out, spies on the number one driver, and finds out that he's actually a Muslim, and the masters of Hindu. They don't want anybody else like that, and then threatens to out him. And so he shows himself out the door, in an effort to not get his own family killed, or whatever the repercussions would have been, like, for there too, right? That kind of take over that spot, and then it goes, but having that mindset of, like, because he tells early on about the whole rooster coop, mythology, and so in his mind, like, his brothers, his cousins, everyone, like, they're already dead, and they know they're dead, and they know it's coming through, and then the only one that actually has any type of, like, real malice or, like, kind of control in their situation is the grandmother. And I don't think I think if they did a better job of illustrating that dynamic between him, the grandma, and Bahrani, but why he would be more inclined to do. Not saying that justifies his act for going through, which we're led to believe killed his entire family, minus his nephew that his grandmother sent out to go see him out in Bangalore, right?
Yeah.
But like, there was a little bit there. So the only one that could actually think for themselves or do, that's who he killed, and everyone else is kind of collateral damage. But he knew at the end of the day that they were, was that his decision to make? No, I'm not making any case for him or against him. I'm just kind of like,
well, that's why, like, it's so broad. What happens is so broad and never delved into. Like you said, there's no development of, like, why I should side with Belram about any of that stuff. Like, the grandmother's the grandmother. She's living her life in the way that she knows how to live it, in the way that, like, she's, grew up in a village and poor. This is how it's done. Like, I never saw it as malicious, short-sighted, but not malicious, right? Like, that's not her intention to be that way. But the broadness of it kind of just makes it, to me, it makes it more of metaphorical. It just makes it about a value choice, about an ethical choice, or not an ethical choice, but a value choice, in the sense that, like, I have to kill the old ways. I have to let that shit go. even at the cost of my family. Like, it doesn't matter. Because if I don't do that, then I'll never like break the chain. I'll never break the cycle. Right? Like that's part of it. Like it's like blood money. It's a human sacrifice for his endeavor.
Right.
And he chooses to do it. And the thing about the story, this is true in the book as well. It's so slight. It passes over so quick. You never really are given a chance to like sit with like the actual implications of what is going on in a lot of the story and a lot of the movie. Like I feel like you're supposed to kind of side with Balram at the end of the movie, like because it has kind of this very pedantic, like eat the rich vibe to it towards the end of the movie when he kind of comes into himself. Now, granted, is that more like applicable or fair given the circumstances these people are coming from? Maybe so. Maybe that kind of anger is a little bit more warranted, I suppose, than projecting it into a Western culture.
Or you're supposed to have the same reaction that the Chinese premier had when he like saw him when he actually came over to India and introduced himself, or Ashok at that time because he took that name, introduced himself and just kind of like standoffish and like, oh, well, a little weird, right? So
Yeah, because he's like a mob boss. He's like a that's what he is.
yeah, that's
He's
what he became.
I mean, and they do like they don't talk about it. They show you like little snippets of what that is. Like I said, like he'll go to the police when one of his drivers, he hits a kid. One of his drivers hits a kid, kills the kid. He smoothes it over with the police. He just accepts the corrupt nature of the world that he lives in.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the first thing he does when he gets to Bangalore. He goes to he's like, all right, I got to find the police official, whoever's in
Mm-hmm.
charge, whoever runs shit, and I got to give him a bag of money.
Yep. Yep. These bastards all around the country doing the same thing. This is how it works.
And I wish there was more of like a richness of like getting to know how he understands these things, like where are these influences coming from? Because you're talking about this naive village kid that was a driver for like a couple years. You're not talking about somebody that lived a lifetime and had all this experience and met all these people. And in the book, he meets a little bit more. He has a little bit more of an influence from other people, but not really. Like not in the. It has this. I would say the book has the same issues that the movie does, in terms of just like it feeling a little contrived, feeling a little author insert, a little overly like messagey. In terms of like the author is like trying to just imbue you, impart to you a very specific message about like the nature of capitalism, the nature of business, the nature of industrialization.
Mm.
So he kind of fucks his own story to do that because he has to take shortcuts to get you there without having and not really wanting to explain it, I suppose. I mean, maybe that's just me. I don't know. That's how I felt.
No, it definitely wasn't explained a bit much, but I think Barham's progression to making the steps that he did through there, like especially after like the second watch, just yeah, and maybe it's kind of maybe it's kind of reaching, but it just very astute kid. And then even when he was in the tea room, like to overhear and like eavesdrop on conversations, find out what's going on. That's what led him to figure out like being a driver is the best spot up. That now who do I go? Like where do I go at the next target? So from the very beginning, he is very adaptive to his environment and just kind of taking that what little like
Yeah, he's an observant guy. Like he's always
yeah,
watching, he's always learning, he's always taking things in.
but just yeah, but it progresses there. So in this meeting, like when Phil were talking about how did he just go from like a couple years doing that? I mean, I know that's kind of like a reach, but that was just kind of like his progression. And then when he had
Yeah.
that great scene when he takes his nephew to the zoo, he actually sees a white tiger, but also stuck in the cage. And then you're thinking rooster coop, and then he's just has that overwhelming montage of all these traumatic events in his life, and then faints for the first time since he saw his father get cremated, right? And
Yeah.
now we're taking this full tilt. So yeah, it, I don't know, but did you get? I got a little bit like as he's writing the letter to the premiere or whatever, because it's kind of funny. I noticed to like the second time like watching it, but when he sees the stork, and then the mongoose, and then the youngest son of Shook come there, and then like you watch, it looks like a love at first sight scene. It's like the music playing, and like Shook is like
Yeah.
slow doing the hair. He's like, that's the one for me. Like Bob, he even referred. Well, maybe it's right into it, but he ends up taking his name over that too, and then he refers him at the end of the film as his ex. Like.
No, I noticed that as well. Yeah, I think that there is kind of the sense of it's not romantic, but it's a relationship. It's kind of a part, like in the same way that all of our personal relationships build who we are and why we are the way we are. And that Ashok is like the most impactful in a certain way, mostly because of what he had to do at the end. I mean, he even says, like, he's so dispassionate kind of about having to kill this dude that he's like, I don't know, I wish it was somebody else, but that's just who was there.
Yeah.
That's who I could get this money from.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, I don't hate Ashok, but, he was there.
Yeah. He didn't deserve this fate. He didn't deserve this fate. But he also had the pressure of, he thought Ashok was going to replace him as well, because what he was rating.
Well, it's like a storytelling device where they add a ticking clock. You're supposed to feel like the ticking clock. He's got to do this before he gets replaced, before he gets fired. Unfortunately, this director is, in my opinion, a little mediocre, Paul. I don't know. I thought this, just to talk about some of like the filmmaking aspects, I thought it was kind of a lazy movie in that sense, and I felt that even more.
So, man, I just wanted to finish that thought about because he did that whole like love scene, like watching Ashok or whatever. But throughout the whole narration, he's riding to the Chinese premiere, and it's just like I just got the whole thing. It's just like he's still continuing the cycle, but he's just getting a bigger cage because now it's like he's seeking out like a new master, and he's doing the same type of ass kissing. To the Chinese premiere as he was with Ashok, I love your father, your brother, blah, blah, this, doing this whole thing like, I know as a communist, like, you don't believe in God, but do you believe in fate? Or this and blah, blah, you're just that same.
They always have that. They have the sense of like there are hierarchies within hierarchies, right? Like even Ashok and his father and the mongoose and his family are subject to the politicians. Mm-hmm. They're so high up in the caste system and the class system that they're subject to them. So they're the servants of those people. They only exist. Their wealth only exists at the behest of what these politicians want to do.
Right.
And then he's kind of entering into the same thing. So everybody has that, right? Like it's this constant cycle of servant and master and having to kill your master to get to the top of the ladder. Like it's just a cycle of that. I think it's the slave master paradox. It's Friedrich Nietzsche. If you ever feel like looking into that, like he the philosopher Nietzsche, he talked about this idea, this concept of having to do those things just to like as a natural state of life. You just have to do that. You have to be better than like the people that I guess teach you. Like you have to overcome them. And this is like something that's archetypal in storytelling as well, right? It's always like, now the student has become the master. Like this is something that's just in storytelling for hundreds of years. And but it's something that reflects real life because we're all stuck in that kind of thing, right? Like if you're a type of person that like say works for a business or is in a situation where you want to like move up in the company or whatever, sometimes that doesn't happen until that person above you fucks up or is old enough to retire or die or whatever. Mm-hmm. So this is this dark little piece of all of us that is motivated by these kind of very cynical positions to take about our own situations, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, not me. I'm not like that. I would never be like that. I mean, I'm actually a white tiger. So, but I just think that's it's something that the story deals with, but that doesn't deal with it. Like it's there and it just hangs there and it doesn't do anything with it. And to me, I don't know, maybe that's just me becoming an old man or something. I'm just like, it's just like it's just boring. Like it's just like one of these things like, no, dude, I'm just asking questions, man. I just ask all these questions and I don't do anything with it. Like that's not smart. Like that's not intriguing to me.
Right.
Like you have to have a thesis statement. That's what bothers me so much about how the movie ends. I was like, there's like no thesis statement here. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with all this? It's just a bunch of information. And then you're supposed to think he's cool. And then there's all these we can get it once we start talking about the director and the meta levels of the movie. Like there's some interesting aspects where they're just like making an anti-Bollywood movie and they're actually giving the finger to Danny Boyle a couple times, who directed Slumdog Millionaire.
Yeah, because they did that in the open narration. There's no there's no million rupee show that can get you out of this,
And
right?
also the final shot of the movie, right? Is Bahram and all of his employees. And if you are familiar with Indian cinema or even just familiar with Slumdog Millionaire, there's a giant dance routine that happens at the end of every Bollywood movie. So you were waiting for it to happen, and it doesn't.
It doesn't.
And it doesn't because this guy is so deep. Okay.
I made a note about that. I was like, oh, what the hell with the freaking Bollywood blue balls?
Did you get my dance, bitch? What? Oh, dude, I rewatched Slumdog Millionaire because I was just like, which is like a very white guy thing, very like American dude, like, no, reminds me of Slumdog Millionaire a little bit. And so I go watch Slumdog Millionaire, which is a movie I always like assumed that I liked a lot. And then I watched it. Like, last time I watched it, I was probably I think we lived together the last time I watched Slumdog Millionaire. Yeah. Like I bought the DVD. It was the last time I watched Slumdog Millionaire. Writing checks, probably spent $20 on it and watched it one time in my life. Wow, so worth it, Shaun. So worth it. Now it's in a landfill. I couldn't eat back then. It's fucking so stupid. But anyways, I got a sickness. Yeah, but I watched it and I was and a part of it was because this movie reminded me, not just because it's an Indian film, because they make specific digs at Slumdog Millionaire. And also like just the filming style is a little Danny Boyle.
Okay.
Like if you think about this movie, you've seen Trainspotting, right?
Oh yeah.
Like it kind of like echoes some of those kind of vibes. The way that Danny Boyle makes a movie, like it's kind of in there a little bit. Some of the framing, some of the way that the cinematography is done, and going back and watching Slumdog Millionaire, and I hate to use this, but it is a condescending movie, like to Indian people. It fetishizes like being poor. It's super contrived. It's just about like it is one of these movies that I swear to God is just so white people feel better about themselves. And I don't say that lightly because I'm not the type of person that kind of throws that kind of shit around. But it's very clearly like, oh, don't you want to feel good about like how awful their life is? It's like almost came off as a piece of like propaganda. Very weird.
Huh.
And that movie ends with a big Bollywood dance number after one of the main characters. So that this, if you guys don't know, the story of Slumdog Millionaire is 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. You kind of track their life. What you find, this kid when he's like 20 years old gets on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and the movie is a series of flashbacks about why he knows the answers to the questions. And one of the other character, the other boy character, ends up living a life of crime. Like 2 minutes before this Bollywood dance, that guy gets fucking blown away, Scarface style, in a bathtub full of money. The police come in and they blow him the fuck away. And then 3 minutes later, Dev Patel got the girl, dude, and fucking dancing, dude. It's fucking Bollywood, baby. Yeah. You can live your dreams. You can live your dreams. He won. He beat everybody.
Wait for the critique of why that's like not appropriate.
It's just like there's a dissonance there. There's like a cognitive dissonance.
10 minutes before getting blown away over a tub of money and then getting the girl in Bollywood.
Well, yeah, if we're talking about proximity to the time, if you want to be classy, at least 15 minutes. At least
15.
At least 15 minutes.
Already 3 hours. Jeez, man.
No, Slumdog. When you're like older and you watch Slumdog Millionaire, you're just like, this movie kind of sucks. Like, and I understand why it won so many Academy Awards, because it's so like pandering and like so gross. Like it doesn't want to deal with anything. It makes their life like a fairy tale. Like, oh my God, all the suffering and awful shit you had to do, but it's destiny, baby. It's destiny. It's all worth it. It's destiny. Like, I'm sorry. Like, yeah, you could have got raped by this guy, and this girl got her face cut because she was disrespectful. But now you're
Man.
millionaires. It's a very Western perspective on like being poor, I suppose, right? And in a very like stupid, cynical, fantastical way, it's like, oh, dude, you could win the lottery. You got to play the lottery, dude. You got to get on a game show. You got to do something.
Right.
But I don't know. But this movie directly is like antagonistic towards that movie because Danny Boyle, colonizer, Paul,
Ah,
the White
gotcha.
Tiger, made exclusively by people from India.
Oh, didn't know that.
Well, I mean the director, the writer, the actors. I don't know what the crew looked like.
Well, the writer we just established earlier on, he's a tourist. He's an Oxford man.
No, he is a tourist, and he admits as much. He's like the reason I became a journalist is because I knew I would never talk to people like this if I wasn't a journalist. And what he's dude, oh my god, maybe I should try to find the article. I should probably try to find the article. Oh, dude, hold on.
Switch over to bash this guy. It's no longer a film talk. Let's talk about this guy some more.
Oh, come on.
That's the guy in DC walking by getting annoyed that the audacity of that homeless dude asking for some change. That's what that guy's like.
Because it was, I guess, like the person that interviewed him was a little like aggressive in the sense of like, aren't you a tourist? And he got very offended and started calling him a white colonizer. There's a specific part.
That's how you address an ad hominem attack. You got to return it. You got to go back.
Okay, here we go. Okay, this is a quote from him. If we were in India now, there would be servants standing in the corners of this room, and I wouldn't notice them, says Zadiga. That's what my society is like. That is what the divide is like. Adiga conceived the novel when he was traveling in India and writing for Time magazine. I spent a lot of time hanging around stations and talking to rickshaw pullers, which is what Balram is. What struck him was the physical difference between the poor and the rich. Like, what kind of a sheltered life did you live? In India, it's the rich who have problems with obesity. No shit.
Thank you.
And the poor are dark-skinned because they work outside and often work without their tops on so you can see their ribs. But also their intelligence impressed me. What rickshaw pullers especially reminded me of was black Americans, in the sense that they are witty, acerbic, verbally skilled, and utterly without illusions about their rulers. Now, if that ain't a fucking wildly racist thing to say, which is apropos because I'm sorry, guys, if you guys don't know this, India, wildly racist fucking country. Even this woke idiot trying to fucking pander and virtue signal can't help but have the bigotry of low expectations. Like, I was shocked when I talked to a black person. I was shocked when I talked to this poor person. He wasn't a gibbering moron. Oh my God. What a rich tapestry, what a rich life they have. That's the quote, Paul, that recontextualized this whole thing for me. I was like, oh, this is the guy that wrote this book? Fuck this guy. You would get canceled. If you were you were an American writer, you would get canceled in 2021.
I just can't get over the well, to be fair, in the West, poor people have problems with obesity too. But it's just because we have so much awesome food.
Yeah, it's because we got fast food. Yeah. We got processed foods over here.
But just the whole I was extremely impressed with their intelligence. So
like black people, I had met in America. You're like, what the fuck? That's what I'm saying. Is
that the link you sent me earlier? Okay, I gotta read that.
Yeah. It's the whole interview. It's just like, dude. Like this is what I'm saying in terms of the author insert quality to the storytelling, this projection, this kind of broader message. He's one of these fucking rich people that's like a champagne socialist guy. Capitalism is evil. The West is evil. Colonizers are evil.
Right.
Without any type of deep introspection. That's why I was talking about. I'm like, it brings these things up and never delves into them. It's like if you were talking to an uninformed teenager.
Mm.
And they just say things. They just say things. They're like, this is bad.
Badism, because you go into this thing about classism. You're like, well, yeah, give me more. Well, what about this theme of capitalist? Yeah, let's go to this. Or what about this? And then move on. And now we're done. So I don't know.
Well, because
maybe I don't like the movie anymore now, man.
Dude, it really it did actually sour me on the movie a lot, because then I thought of
I think it's sour. It definitely soured. So you can have a different experience with, like, visually watching, the movie, and then, like, really, reading the book, or just kind of overall the subtext. I think God, what's the main guy's name? I won't put you through that, but Balram.
Balram, yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a fun performance to watch. I think that it was really good. I do think it was
no,
fun.
He's the draw of the movie. Like that guy is excellent. He's excellent in this, and he's got like this great meaty role. I was going to talk about for the technical side of things. Like, I think the voiceover in the movie is a mistake. I kind of wish it wasn't there. I think that guy is a good enough actor that you didn't need that, and I think it acts as a crutch. It's just not a book. This is a movie. Like, let us sit with these people, let us experience like their life, and like let us kind of make our own assumptions about their lifestyles and why they do the things that they do. Like, treat us like adults a little bit. This, like, honestly, it's like the book is the same way. Like, you're like, if you had read this when you were 20, you'd be like, wow, that book's fucking awesome, dude. That's like, it's like Fight Club. That shit kicks ass. And but it's, it's funny though. Fight Club is a much more nuanced, thoughtful book and movie, I would say, than this is. Deceptively so. Like, but if you're willing to dig in, it's there. I don't think you can really dig in here, because it's like I said, I'm just asking questions, man. We questions. We bring out concepts, and we don't explore any of them except for the most basic thing, which is it sucks to be poor and rich people can be assholes. That's it. Like, that was the kind of my takeaway from the movie. Or like, if I want to be very charitable, very generous, the cycle of bullshit that you can get caught up in when you're trying to be a successful person in a capitalistic or industrialized society.
Right. But yeah, or you can just embrace the white tiger, and then once in a generation, someone gets to break out of the rooster coop, right? Maybe it's a very big, commentary on the whole nature versus nurture theme, right? So, there you go. But that's more than fair, like, criticism. Like, yeah, there's no exploration. They're bringing up a lot of different topics they don't deep into, and there's not a whole lot to do it. And I think, like a good pop song, you can get into the build up and the chorus.
Yeah,
Like, that's it's definitely not like a movie for the times.
No, I won't remember this.
I definitely said, if you already paid for Netflix, or someone that you know or love is already paying for Netflix, and they gave you the login account, give it a go, because it is a fun thing to watch.
Yeah, I would say the moment-to-moment experience of the movie is entertaining. And it's got, like, the narrative draws you in, you're interested. I wish there wasn't the narration. I wish it didn't have, like, the bookends the same way the book does, where it's like you already know he gets out of this. Like, imagine if you didn't know if he got out of it while you're watching this movie. Way more dramatic. Automatically. Is he going to jail?
Yeah.
Like, what's gonna happen? Is he gonna get fucked over by these fucking scumbags in the parking lot or the parking garage? Like, you wouldn't know. You would be uneasy the whole time, and the movie gives you this, like, nah, dude, this is fun. This is we're having fun. He gets away. Look at that mustache. He's got fucking sweet
mustache. That's a sweet mustache.
I used to go to a liquor store that was run by this an Indian family. And there's been periods of my life where I've had more impressive mustaches, like really, like, fucking go. They're like, in my country, like, this would be quite exquisite. they're like, do you use oils and stuff like that? I'm like, yeah, oil from my face, buddy, from all the pizza I eat. But he's like, "Oh, this is a beautiful, magnificent beard. You should take care of it." I was like, "Okay, now give me my $10 vodka, please."
And we're on with our day.
Yeah, thank you.
Because it probably was daytime, you fucking degen.
Oh, back then, yeah, it was before I had kids. Living the sweet life, you know.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Trying to figure out ways to fucking master. I remember. I
Yeah.
remember. Oh man. But I think that's pretty much like the new movies that I would normally do. There's so much to dig in that we don't even get into anything. But I think that's we kind of belabored that point a bit. There wasn't a lot to chew in.
Well,
But
do you think this movie would be better if a better director, in the hands of a better director? Actually, if Danny Boyle directed this movie, probably a better movie. Like just because like there would be a kineticism, there would be an immediacy, it would be fucking crazy. It would be like make you sweat inducing, right? Like the way Train Spotting is, or even Slumdog Millionaire. Like Slumdog Millionaire, I have problems. But I almost feel exactly the same way I do about that movie as I do about White Tiger. I'm like, the moment to moment experience is very entertaining. It's just when you start like thinking about how they put the story together and how it was constructed, you're just like, no, hold on a second here. Like this is, but
well, I think that the first thing that comes to my mind, what would make this movie better, because the people that would make it better would not only make it, they would just make the story and then everything better, and that'd probably be the Coen brothers.
oh, dude, the Coen brothers would have killed this.
Yeah,
because you could think of the eccentric Coen brother characters, like
the Mongoose. Think of like what they would do with.
oh my god, they would have cast John Goodman in brownface.
Oh.
No, they wouldn't have. They wouldn't even. They're not that stupid.
In the story.
Oh my god. Yeah. Well, this guy's like this director. He's just not great, dude. Like, have you ever seen 99? Have you ever seen 99 Homes? Michael Shannon, Andrew Garfield. It's about poor people. It's about the housing collapse, the housing market collapse in 2008.
Michael Shannon, that's the guy we like, right?
Dude, no, Michael Shannon. You gotta if you watch it for Michael Shannon because Michael Shannon's rad. He's like one of those guys. Like you just like watching Michael Shannon. Like you don't even give a fuck what he does or what he's in. You're just like Michael Shannon's just fucking entertaining. He also directed the newest version of Fahrenheit 451, the HBO one, also starring Michael Shannon and Michael B. Jordan.
Okay.
Which I fell asleep during.
I couldn't finish it. Yeah.
I fell asleep during it. I'm going to, whether it's with you or somebody else, I want to read Fahrenheit 451. I own the Truffaut movie, the movie from the 70s, and then I was going to sit down and watch this.
Yeah. No, I gave it 2 goes, man. I couldn't. One I fell asleep because I started too late, and then the other one I'm just not getting into this.
My wife is a big fan.
Wait, the director, the Michael Shannon 451 directed, White Tiger.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he's not a great director. Like he's not. Like he does not have like. Or a screenwriter, because like he adapted this. He also adapted the Fahrenheit 451 as well. He just did the book. He did the most basic bitch version of the book. I was watching this because I was like I don't know how to feel about this. I'm gonna watch somebody talk about it for a little bit. And people were like, oh, the visual style, and he's so kinetic and crazy, and he keeps. I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I thought this was kind of flat. Like in my opinion, I don't know. Maybe I got too high of standards. Maybe it's my Western privilege, you know?
Well, one, you totally do. So you can dial that back. Check yourself. You're welcome. I did my checks for the day. But yeah, no. But
I think the Coen Brothers is a great pull, though. They would have killed this fucking movie. Yeah, they would have killed it.
Literally, my last note is that the Coen Brothers would have made this really fun. But yeah,
like as soon as you said it, I see the movie in my head. As soon as you said it, I saw the movie in my head. I was like, oh my god, yeah, it'd be so much better.
But just more colonizers, so it'll never happen. but it totally
Well,
should.
they're Jewish. I mean, they're Jews, so are they considered part of the colonizer community? I don't know. I think they get kind of a
I
pass on that.
By technicalities, they can't be. I think they're in the clear. Actually, I forgot about that. Didn't one
So
of them become like another gender? Or no, that was
no,
the Matrix people.
that's you're talking. Well, actually, that was both of them. Actually, both the Wachowskis. Now we used to call them the Wachowski brothers. Then they were the Wachowski siblings for a moment, and now that they're both transgender, now they're the Wachowskis.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right on. Isn't there another Matrix coming?
Yeah, Matrix 4. You know what they call, dude? You know what the name of the new Matrix is?
No.
The Matrix Resurrections.
Oh.
I was like, what an awful title. Like, what are you doing? I thought my money on it because I was talking to my brother. I think we talked about it on like an old like Zoobox Live when we started doing live stuff on the internet. I was like, dude, it should be like the Matrix like recoded. Like, how on the nose do you got to be? The Matrix Resurrections?
Yeah.
Like, this is like, it's like a bad, like a kid's book, like a kid's science fiction book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like the sixth in the series. They're like, like the Maze Runner, Firefight, the Maze Runner, Resurrections. I was like, what the fuck? But you know what, Paul? You know what's going to be about? You know what the new Matrix is going to be about?
No, tell me.
Okay. I'm going to give you a broad stroke. This is my prediction for everybody. This is my guess. Broad stroke theme of the Matrix 4 Resurrections. Okay? You know the concept red pilling? That comes from the Matrix. That comes from the Matrix. They're going to retcon the Matrix to make that a bad thing.
Gotcha.
Come on.
It's probably on there. It's probably right there.
Because if they're resurrecting these old characters, they're going to have to reveal that it was all a facade. You weren't actually awake. You weren't as awake as you thought you were.
God.
You were tricked. You were tricked.
Yeah.
It's going to be not good. But and I want to like the Wachowskis. Like I love Speed Racer, dude. I like, Cloud Atlas, which is maybe something we should do someday. It might be fun to do Cloud Atlas if you can stomach it.
I don't want to watch that one again.
Dude, Paul and I saw it in the theater. Not together, but we ended up just randomly, we saw it in the theater separately. And the takeaway from that movie, like the quote from that conversation is like, I wish I saw this when I was 14. It would have been the coolest movie ever.
Yeah. Well, who knows, man? A lot of things we've been revisiting. It's been fun to do so.
Well, that's another one that's got a book. We could see. We could see. Maybe. I'm not going to hold anybody to that. Do not look for Cloud Atlas. Maybe 2 years from now. There's so many other well worth our time things to talk about before we get to Cloud Atlas, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, man. You got me a little depressed on the Matrix thing. So.
Well, because I'm right. That's why. Because you're just like fuck. Because you remembered. You're like, oh fuck, that is where the red pilling term comes from. The Wachowskis, guess what, aren't very cool with how it's been repurposed. They've given interviews talking about that. I'm just like, oh, that's what this is going to be about. It's going to retcon the concept of the red pill and how that's actually a bad thing. And when you really look at it, you really get down, you get the information.
Yeah, don't.
Another level of the construct, dude. Listen, you know what they should have done from the goddamn start? We all knew it when we saw Matrix Reloaded, okay? They should have revealed that the real world was also a part of the Matrix, and they didn't do it. So I guess here's their chance.
There you go.
Maybe fucking Neo running around blowing up shit with his mind while he's blind and shit at the end of Matrix Revolutions. They should have just said, no, he's in the Matrix. They're still in the Matrix. I would have accepted that. But.
Well, hopefully John Wick 4 will bring the fun.
I hope so. John Wick 3, my least favorite of the John Wick movies, so maybe they'll reclaim the throne of 4.
I'd agree. But I like 1 and 2 almost equally.
Dude, I think John Wick 2 is the best one because it's the best mix of like lore and also just great choreography, great action scenes. I mean, the tunnel scene.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy shit, dude! Like that whole thing, or fighting Common, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Fighting Common on the cobble streets there. It's fucking awesome. It's great. All right, everybody. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you talking to me. And if you would like to know more about Zoobox, there's a bunch of links in the description. We cannot live stream on our main channel right now. We've been banned. I was attacked by a violent religious group called Abraham, and they did a hard copyright strike on something that I can't really fight back. YouTube doesn't have my back. So there's an alternate YouTube channel. There's a D Live channel. We're over there where we can watch movies and shit on D Live, doing some live movie commentaries, some live TV show commentaries over there. If you're interested in that, you want to check that out. I do it at the random, so that's why it's so important to follow, so I can also get involved in this lemon economy. Okay, they don't have money over there. You get these things called lemons, which is like some sort of proprietary Bitcoin thing that you can cash out. But I got to get 200 followers on D Live before I can have access to the sweet lemon. So go over there. We watched The Crow City of Angels the other night, everybody. I mean, that's the kind of hot content you're going to get over on D Live, baby. The Crow. Who doesn't want to watch The Crow 2?
Keep me up to the night.
Dude, and I watched all of RoboCop, the animated series from 1988. Also archived on our YouTube channel, because nobody gives a fuck about those copyrights. It's actually a sweet show, though. I'm not going to lie. It was pretty good. All right, everybody. Talk to you later. Thanks again, Paul.
Thank you.